Afternoon, be seated, please.
CRCS 1 of 2022, Commission's own motion, 2022 State Wage Order pursuant to Section 50A of the Act.
Yes, well, same appearances at the bar table I see. Mr Intrigan for the Minister, Mr Moss for the CCI and Dr Diamond for Unions WA. Very well. This is the third year in which the Commission and Court Session has been required to make a state wage order during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time of the 2021 state wage case decision, state government imposed health restrictions remained in place and the West Australian border remained closed. At the time of these proceedings, most pandemic restrictions have been eased and the border has been opened to domestic and international travellers since 3 March 2022. Despite the easing of restrictions and the opening of the border, a state of emergency declaration remains in place. We have been assisted in our deliberations by submissions from the Minister, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Western Australia, Unions WA, and the Western Australian Council of Social Service. Additionally, a submission was received from Professor Preston from the Business School at the University of Western Australia. Unions WA and WACOS proposed an increase in the state minimum and award wages of 7.6%. Whilst neither specified an amount on this occasion, the CCI WA contended that the Commission should adopt a cautious approach. The Minister was supportive of an approach that maintained a strong safety net of minimum wages and conditions of employment. In making a state wage order, the Commission is required to consider a range of social, economic and industrial factors. As we have observed previously, each criterion required to be considered is not accorded any precedence. All are to be balanced whilst also having regard to the obligation to decide matters according to equity, good conscience and the substantial merits of the case. In the 2021 state wage case, we noted that the West Australian economy had recovered well from the impact of the pandemic and that key indicators showed a return to growth. Sentiment, both consumer and business, had rebounded. It was observed, however, that risk to the outlook remained, including further outbreaks of the virus and the effect this may have on industry sectors such as accommodation and food services. All the participants in these proceedings agreed that the state economy has continued its robust growth since that time. The domestic economy is forecast to achieve its strongest growth in a decade over the year 2021-22. This has led in turn to a strong labour market with record low unemployment and high jobs growth. From all the material before the Commission, we have concluded that the Western Australian economy is strong and can sustain an increase in the state minimum wage. After many years at benign levels, well within and often below the Reserve Bank of Australia target range of 2 to 3%, the headline inflation rate for Perth for the year to March 2022 is elevated and has risen to 7.6%. This represents a large jump in the rate of inflation since last year's state wage case. This has had a significant impact on the cost of living for the low paid. A substantial body of data was before the Commission in relation to low income households and the difficulties they have in meeting rising living costs in terms of rents, food and energy costs and rising fuel prices. It is accepted from this material that low income employee households are finding it more difficult to make ends meet. We're also mindful of the need to consider increases in costs for employers, such as changes to compulsory superannuation contributions about to commence. The determination of the state minimum wage in this year's proceedings has been challenging. Volatility in several key metrics relied upon by the Commission, in conjunction with the ongoing pandemic effects, has created an environment of uncertainty. In this situation, including rising inflationary pressures, there is a risk of wage rises causing businesses to pass on rising input costs to consumers, which may further accelerate inflation. Having regard to all matters, we are required to consider Having regard to all matters we are required to consider, our decision is to increase the state minimum wage by $40.90 per week. The new state minimum wage will be $819.90 per week. We've also decided to structure the increases to award rates of pay differently on this occasion. Award rates of pay up to the C classification rate will be increased by $40.90 per week. Award classifications at the C10 classification rate and above will be increased by 4.65%. This approach to increases in the state minimum wage and award rates of pay will provide the greatest benefit to the lowest paid, whilst also moderating any impact on the state's economy. We now publish our reasons for decision and minutes of proposed order. Now, there are two matters that we wish to bring to your attention in relation to the minutes, if we could, please. The first relates to Orders 4 and 13 regarding the rate to apply for employees taking part in the supported wage system. The rate to be included is that contained in the National Minimum Wage Order made under Section 285(2)(c) of the Fair Work Act. The Fair Work Commission's draft order is open for comment, as I understand it, by close of business tomorrow, Friday 24 June. The supported wage system rate is yet to be published, but as soon as it is, it will be incorporated into the minutes of the state wage order. The second point relates to rates of wages for trainees under Orders 7B Table 1 and Order 8B. The formula for calculation of the rates is in Order 8B. This has been applied by the Registry of the Commission for many, many years. On this occasion, however, possibly because of the size of the increase to the arbitrated safety net adjustment, the calculations have led to three different rates for skill levels A, B and C for Year 10 and Year 10 plus 1, with the rate for the skill level A being lower than that for B and C. This has never occurred before, and as these rates generally for skill level A are either higher or the same rates, as has been the case since 2006 in fact. As three different rates have been generated, the registry does not think the adjustment mechanism in Order 8B Roman 3 applies. Could we ask the parties to confer about that matter in particular with the registrar to see if this can be resolved in some way by agreement between you, and if you can do so, if you could advise us at the time you advise us by 12 noon next Monday, if you wish to speak to the minutes of the proposed order. That would be very helpful. If the matter can't be resolved, then of course we will need to determine the matter as quickly as we can, but hopefully that won't be necessary. So those are the two matters that we wanted to bring to your attention specifically in relation to the minute of proposed order. Very well, thank you very much for your appearance. We'll now adjourn.
We stand adjourned.